Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most exciting topics for coin collectors and treasure hunters. We'll break down what makes these coins so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1970 D Washington quarter dollar is one of the fascinating coins from the modern era of U.S. coinage. This coin, minted at the Denver Mint, carries the large date design, and although it is not a rare coin in general circulation, it has its own charm among collectors, especially when the coin holds a bit of age and character. The Washington Quarters series began in 1932, designed by John Flanagan, and by 1970, the coin was part of the copper-nickel-clad era. After the United States stopped minting silver quarters in 1965, the 1970 D Washington quarter is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper core, and it has a mintage of over 417 million pieces. Because of this high production, it is not a rare coin in ordinary condition, but collectors still look for varieties, minting errors, and coins in high grades. The coin we are discussing today is the 1970 D Washington quarter dollar with a large date in damaged condition. This means it shows visible signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, or perhaps surface dents that reduce its collectible appeal. Even though the coin may not be in perfect shape, it still tells a story of circulation and history. And understanding its true value in today's auction market helps collectors and sellers make smart decisions. In its original uncirculated or mint state form, a 1970 D Washington quarter can bring a modest premium over face value. A regular example in mint condition might be valued between $7 and $20, and sometimes more if it is exceptionally well preserved. However, condition is everything in numismatics. When a coin has damage, deep scratches, cleaning marks, dents, corrosion, or missing details, its value drops significantly. A damaged coin often receives what grading companies call a details grade, meaning the coin cannot receive a numerical grade due to impairment. Collectors generally avoid heavily damaged coins unless they are rare or have an unusual error that makes them desirable despite their flaws. In the case of the 1970 D Washington quarter, since it is a common issue, the damage becomes a strong factor in lowering its worth. In the auction market today, pristine 1970 D quarters in high grades can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars if they are certified in exceptional condition. For example, a top-graded specimen in MS-69 once fetched around $15,000 at auction. However, these are extremely rare examples and represent the absolute top of the market. Most 1970 D quarters, even in uncirculated condition, trade in a much lower range. When damage is present, the coin becomes a low-end collectible. Depending on the severity, the coin might be worth anywhere between $1 and $10, with the lower end applying to heavily scratched or corroded coins, and the upper end for coins that still look decent and retain sharp details. Despite minor imperfections, a damaged coin like this may still hold some interest for casual collectors or hobbyists who enjoy finding older coins with visible history. Some buyers appreciate the sentimental or educational value of such pieces, even if the monetary worth is limited. In many online auctions or local sales, a 1970 D Washington quarter in damaged condition might sell for around $2 to $5, depending on how it is presented and photographed. Honest listings with clear pictures of both sides of the coin tend to attract more interest. Collectors want to see the date, the D mint mark, and as much design detail as possible before bidding. The large date design can sometimes attract small interest, especially if the date appears bold or distinct, but it does not add major premium unless it is linked to an officially recognized variety. When valuing any damaged coin, it is best to start from what a clean example would sell for, and then apply a discount based on the severity of the damage. Light scratches or small rim dings may reduce value by 20 to 40%, while heavy corrosion, Deep gouges or harsh cleaning can reduce value by 70 to 90%. In some cases, if the damage is extreme or the coin is barely identifiable, it might only be worth its face value of 25 cents. But for collectors who appreciate the story behind circulated coins, even a damaged quarter can be an interesting addition. In today's auction market, the true value of a 1970 D Washington quarter dollar in damaged condition depends entirely on eye appeal, honesty in description, and the buyer's interest. It is unlikely to bring a high premium, but it may still fetch a few dollars if it is properly listed with clear photos and full details about its condition. For most sellers, this coin would realistically sell between $1 and $5 in open auction. It might occasionally go slightly higher if the damage is minimal and the coin has strong luster or clean surfaces. While it may not be a valuable investment piece, it remains a fascinating reminder of American minting history and a solid example of how condition drives value in the coin-collecting world. The 1970 D Washington quarter dollar, even in damaged condition, tells a small but meaningful story from 50 years of circulation, holding a modest but enduring place in the numismatic market. First up, the 1962 USA Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark is a classic example of mid-20th century American coinage and one of the last dimes struck in 90% silver. Before the United States transitioned to copper-nickel coinage in 1965, this small but historically significant coin carries both intrinsic silver value and collectible interest, especially for those who appreciate coins from the silver era. Minted at the Denver Mint, the D Mint mark located on the reverse side of the coin, just to the left of the torch's base, distinguishes it from the Philadelphia and San Francisco issues of the same year. The obverse of the 1962 dime features the dignified portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. The design was first introduced in 1946, 1 year after Roosevelt's death, to honor his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his role in founding the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio. The inscriptions, "Liberty and in God we trust," appear prominently around Roosevelt's profile, with the date 1962 positioned below his neck and the designer's initials JS at the truncation of the bust. On the reverse, Sinek's design continues with an elegant and symbolic composition. At the center stands a torch, representing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left to symbolize peace, and an oak branch on the right to represent strength and independence. Above the design are the words United States of America, and below it reads one dime with the national motto E pluribus unum, placed horizontally across the center. This simple yet powerful imagery has made the Roosevelt dime one of the most enduring and recognizable coins in American history. Your coin. The 1962 D Roosevelt dime is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, a fine grade, abbreviated as F, means that the coin has experienced moderate wear from circulation. The major features are still clearly visible, but finer details are worn down. On the obverse, you will notice that much of Roosevelt's hair detail, especially around the temple and forehead, appears flat and smooth, but the main outline of his face, eye, mouth, and ear are still clear. On the reverse, the torch, branches, and lettering remain easily readable, though the finer veins in the leaves and torch lines show wear. The scratches you mention are common for a coin that has circulated for decades, light to moderate contact marks that do not significantly reduce its collectible value unless they are deep or unsightly. The 1962 D Roosevelt dime is made of 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 2.5 grams, giving it an actual silver weight, ASW, of 0.07234 troy ounces. This means that even heavily circulated examples like yours retain a melt value based on the current price of silver. In today's silver market, the melt value fluctuates with silver's spot price, which typically ranges around $25 to $30 per ounce. Based on that, the silver content of your dime alone is worth approximately $1.80 to $2.20, regardless of its condition. This intrinsic silver value provides a strong baseline for its overall market worth. From a collector's standpoint, the 1962D is not considered rare. The Denver Mint produced over 334 million dimes that year, making it one of the higher mintage issues of the series. Because of this, circulated examples like yours are plentiful, and their value is mostly tied to their silver content rather than rarity. In fine condition with some scratches, your coin would typically sell for around $2 to $3 in today's market, which reflects both its silver melt value and a small collectible premium. If your coin were in higher grades, such as extra fine, XF, or uncirculated, MS, it could command more value among collectors. For example, uncirculated examples often sell for $4 to $6, and high-grade mint state coins graded MS65 or above by PCGS or NGC can bring $10 to $25 or more, depending on luster, strike quality, and eye appeal. Exceptional pieces with flawless surfaces and strong toning can sometimes reach $40 or higher at auction. However, since your coin is described as being in fine condition with visible scratches, it primarily holds value for its silver content rather than numismatic rarity. The Roosevelt dime series is still in production today, and the design has changed very little since 1946, making early silver issues like your 1962D coin an attractive choice for collectors who want a tangible link to America's silver coinage history. These coins also remain popular among silver investors who enjoy stacking junk silver coins, circulated U.S. dimes, quarters, and half-dollars minted before 1965 that are valued for their silver content. Next up, the 1979 D. Washington $quarter coin is another interesting piece from the modern era of American coinage. Although many people refer to it as a silver coin, the 1979 Washington quarter was actually made of a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than silver. The U.S. Mint stopped using 90% silver in quarters after 1964, and by 1979, the regular circulating quarters were all made of a copper core with a nickel outer layer, giving them their familiar silver-like appearance. The Denver Mint produced a very large number of 1979 D quarters, with a total mintage of more than 489 million coins, making it a common issue in circulation. Even though it is common, collectors often appreciate well-preserved examples and pay attention to condition, strike quality, and eye appeal. In terms of value, the 1979 D. Washington quarter is considered a modern collectible rather than a rare piece. Because of its high mintage and clad composition, it does not carry any intrinsic silver value. However, collectors often look for examples that are in better-than-average condition, and coins that are clean, well-detailed, and attractive can bring a small premium over face value. A 1979 D quarter in very fine condition, even with a few scratches, might typically sell for between $1 and $3 in today's market, depending on presentation and buyer interest. If the coin were in mint state or uncirculated condition, it could bring around $5 to $15 or more, depending on grade. The scratches on your coin reduce its desirability slightly, but it still holds value above face because of its nice remaining details and the fact that it has been preserved relatively well compared to heavily circulated pieces. In the auction market, the very finest 1979 D quarters, especially those graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for impressive prices, sometimes exceeding $100. However, these coins are rare because they must be nearly flawless, with sharp strikes, full luster, and no visible marks. Your coin, being in very fine condition with some scratches, falls into the mid-range category that attracts casual collectors rather than high-end investors. It's the kind of coin that appeals to hobbyists who enjoy collecting older U.S. quarters without spending large sums. Collectors often appreciate such coins because they represent a bridge between older, silver-era quarters and the fully modern designs that came later. The 1979 D quarter still carries the traditional eagle reverse, which was eventually replaced in 1999 with the State Quarters series. This makes the 1979 coin part of the last 2 decades of the classic Washington design. For collectors who focus on assembling complete date and mint mark sets, your 1979 D quarter is a necessary and affordable piece to include. Even with minor scratches, as long as the design details and mint mark are visible, it retains collectible interest. If you were to sell this coin at auction or online, listing it as a 1979 D Washington quarter, in very fine condition with minor surface scratches, and providing clear, close-up photos of both sides would likely attract small but genuine bids. Coins like this typically sell between $1 and $3, depending on presentation and demand. It's always best to describe the condition honestly, and note any flaws so that buyers know exactly what they are getting. Next up, the 1953 USA Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark is a remarkable piece of American history and an excellent example of post-war U.S. coinage. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and the small D mint mark can be found on the reverse, just to the left of the base of the torch. Like all Roosevelt dimes minted before 1965, the 1953 D dime is made of 90% silver and 10% copper, making it not only a collectible coin, but also one with real intrinsic silver value. Even after decades of circulation, coins like this continue to attract attention from both collectors and silver investors because of their historical and precious metal significance. Your coin is described as being in good condition with a black color shade and some scratches. In numismatic terms, good condition, often abbreviated as G, means the coin has seen significant wear from circulation. The major design elements are still visible but very worn. On the obverse, Roosevelt's facial features are heavily flattened, and much of the hair detail is lost, though the outline of his head, the lettering, and the date remain readable. On the reverse, the torch and surrounding branches are visible but show heavy wear, and finer details such as leaf veins and flame lines are smooth. The black color shade you mentioned is quite common among older silver coins. This dark toning or patina forms naturally over time as silver reacts with sulfur and other elements in the air. It can range from light gray to deep black, depending on environmental conditions. Collectors often refer to this as natural toning. While excessive darkening can obscure details, a uniform black or gray patina is generally not considered damage. It's a sign of age and authenticity. Some collectors even appreciate toned coins for their character and originality. Because the 1953 D Roosevelt dime is made of 90% silver, its value is closely tied to the current price of silver. Each dime of this era contains approximately 0.07234 troy ounces of pure silver. At today's silver market prices, typically around $25 to $30 per troy ounce, the melt value of your coin is roughly $1.80 to $2.20. This forms the base value of the coin. Regardless of condition, from a collector's perspective, the 1953 D is not a rare date in the Roosevelt dime series. The Denver Mint produced approximately 136 million dimes that year, meaning that most examples, especially those in circulated condition, are readily available. However, silver-era dimes like this still hold historical and collector appeal. In good condition with black toning and scratches, your coin would typically sell for about $2 to $3 in today's market, which includes both its silver value and a small collectible premium. If the coin were in higher grades, such as very fine, VF, extra fine, XF, or uncirculated, MS, its value would increase accordingly. A 1953 D dime in extra fine condition can bring $3 to $5, while uncirculated examples may sell for $6 to $10. High-grade mint state coins, certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch $20 to $40. And superbly struck, high-luster coins in MS-67 or better have been known to sell for $100 or more at auctions. Your coin, with its black toning and honest circulation wear, represents the kind of piece that ordinary Americans once carried in their pockets during the 1950s, a time of post-war prosperity and national rebuilding. Although its value in dollars is modest, it remains a genuine relic from an era when everyday coins were made of real silver, giving it both historical and sentimental appeal. Next up, the 1968 D Washington $quarter coin is a classic example of U.S. coinage from the late 1960s, carrying both historical and collectible appeal. Although many people refer to it as a silver coin because of its shiny, silver-like surface, the 1968 D quarter is actually not made of silver. The United States Mint stopped using 90% silver in Washington quarters after 1964, switching instead to a copper-nickel-clad composition starting in 1965. Therefore, the 1968 D quarter is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Despite lacking silver content, this coin still holds numismatic interest because of its age, its Denver Mint origin, and its condition. The 1968 D Washington quarter features the iconic design by John Flanagan, with the bust of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle with spread wings on the reverse. The mint mark D is located just to the right of Washington's hair ribbon, identifying it as a product of the Denver Mint. In 1968, the Denver Mint struck more than 100 million quarters, making this a fairly common issue overall. However, coins in fine or better condition are still desirable to collectors who enjoy building complete date and mint mark sets. A coin in fine condition means that while it shows moderate wear from circulation, most major design elements remain visible. You can still see Washington's hair details, the date, and the lettering clearly, though high points such as the curls in the hair and parts of the eagle's feathers on the reverse will show wear. Your 1968 D Washington quarter is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. Light surface scratches are common in circulated coins, especially those that have been in pocket change or coin rolls for decades. These scratches do reduce eye appeal slightly, but they do not eliminate the coin's collectible interest, especially if the coin still has a clean appearance and visible details. In the world of coin collecting, condition is always key, and scratches tend to lower the overall value slightly compared to a coin with smooth, natural wear. However, even with minor flaws, this coin remains a nice collectible example from over 50 years ago. Because of its large mintage and non-silver composition, the 1968 D quarter is not a high-value coin in most conditions. In fine condition, it generally trades for slightly above face value among collectors, usually between $1 and $2. In very fine or extra-fine condition, the value might reach up to $3, while uncirculated examples can bring around $5 to $15 or more, depending on grade and luster. The scratches on your coin reduce its appeal slightly, so a realistic value in today's auction market would likely be around $1, possibly up to $2 if the coin still has strong detail and an attractive overall look. Higher grade 1968. D quarters, certified by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, can bring higher prices. For example, mint state coins graded MS-66 or higher sometimes sell for $40 to $60, and top-quality coins in MS-67 can reach over $100. However, those are rare exceptions reserved for nearly flawless coins. Your coin, being in fine condition with some scratches, falls into the modest range that appeals to casual collectors rather than investors. It is not rare, but it is part of the historical transition period of U.S. coinage, marking the years after silver was removed from circulation. Collectors often enjoy the 1968 D quarter because it represents the second phase of the modern-clad coin era, and it also marks the return of mint marks to U.S. coins. After a brief absence in 1965–1967, the Maui reintroduction of the D and S mint marks in 1968 was significant for collectors at the time, and it helped coins like yours become identifiable by mint origin once again. Even in fine condition, a well-preserved 1968 D quarter can be appreciated for its role in that numismatic milestone. If you were to sell this coin in today's market, you could list it as a 1968 D Washington quarter, in fine condition with light surface scratches. Clear photographs showing the date, mint mark, and both sides of the coin will help attract interest from buyers. Although it may only sell for $1 to $2, collectors often appreciate such coins for completing sets or for nostalgic reasons. Many people collect Washington quarters from the 1960s as a bridge between the old silver coinage and the fully modern designs that followed decades later. Next up, the 1992 USA Roosevelt dime with a D mint mark is an interesting piece from the modern era of American coinage. Although many people refer to it as a silver dime because of its bright color, this coin is not made of silver. In fact, the United States stopped using silver in regular circulation dimes after 1964. Since 1965, all regular issue dimes, including your 1992 D coin, have been made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, which consists of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Despite not containing silver, the 1992 Roosevelt dime remains a collectible piece due to its historical design, condition, and mint origin. Your coin is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In coin grading, fine condition, abbreviated as F, means the coin shows moderate wear from circulation, but most of the major design details remain visible. On the obverse, Roosevelt's profile, eye, and mouth are clear, though much of the hair detail is worn smooth. On the reverse, the torch, branches, and lettering are still readable, though the smaller lines and leaf veins are faded from use. The scratches you mention are typical for circulated coins and occur from years of contact with other coins and surfaces. As long as the scratches are not deep or distracting, they do not significantly affect the coin's basic market value. The 1992 D Roosevelt dime is a modern circulation coin with a high mintage. The Denver Mint produced approximately 623 million dimes that year, making it very common. Because of this, circulated examples like yours are still easily found in everyday pocket change. In fine condition, the coin typically carries only its face value of 10 cents. However, some collectors may pay a small premium for particularly well-preserved examples or coins with interesting toning or color variations. In your case, with some scratches and normal wear, the coin's realistic value in today's market would be around $0.10 to $0.20. There are, however, a few special varieties and errors associated with 1992 dimes that can command higher values. One of the most famous is the 1992 No P Roosevelt dime, which lacks the mint mark and was accidentally struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Those rare coins can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars in top condition. However, since your coin bears a D mint mark, it is not part of that variety. Another type of collectible example would be a proof coin made specifically for collectors, struck on silver planchets in limited numbers. These silver-proof dimes were produced in San Francisco and bear an S mint mark, not a D, and were included in collector sets. Your coin, being a regular Denver Mint issue, is not one of those special silver strikes. Even though your 1992 D Roosevelt dime is not rare or silver, it still holds historical interest. It continues a coinage tradition that has now lasted nearly 80 years with the same basic design, a record of longevity among U.S. coin series. The Roosevelt dime remains a daily reminder of President Roosevelt's enduring influence on the nation and his leadership during some of its most difficult times. For coin enthusiasts, collecting examples from different decades allows them to see how the design and minting quality have evolved over the years. In terms of condition and presentation, your coin's fine grade with scratches means it has honest wear from circulation, but still retains decent overall detail. If the coin shows any light toning or attractive surface color, that could make it slightly more appealing to a casual collector. However, its overall market value remains modest because of the high number minted and the absence of silver content. Next up, the 1970 Washington $quarter coin without a mint mark is a fascinating example from the later years of the classic Washington quarter design. This particular coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use a mint mark on its coins during that period. Many people often assume that quarters from this era are silver because of their bright metallic color, but in reality, the 1970 quarter is made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. The United States stopped producing silver quarters for general circulation after 1964, replacing them with coins composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Therefore, while the 1970 quarter has a silver-like appearance, it does not contain any actual silver content. Your coin is described as being in extra-fine condition with some scratches. An extra-fine coin is a higher-level circulated grade, meaning that it retains strong details across most of its design. With only light wear on the high points, such as Washington's hair, his cheek, and the eagle's breast feathers, the lettering and rims remain well-defined, and the coin still shows a pleasing overall appearance. The presence of some scratches slightly reduces its aesthetic appeal, but it does not drastically impact the value unless the scratches are deep or distracting. Light circulation marks are common for coins of this age and are acceptable within the extra-fine range. The 1970 Washington quarter without a mint mark is not considered rare, as the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 136 million of them. However, collectors still seek well-preserved examples, particularly in extra-fine and higher grades. In average circulated condition, these coins usually trade close to their face value of 25 cents. In extra-fine condition, like yours, they typically carry a small premium, especially if they have good eye appeal and minimal damage. A 1970 Philadelphia quarter in extra-fine condition generally sells for around $1 to $2 in the current collector market. If the coin were in almost uncirculated or mint-state condition, it could bring higher prices, around $5 to $15, depending on luster and strike quality. In today's auction market, top-graded examples of 1970 quarters have fetched impressive amounts, but those are exceptional cases. For instance, a perfect or near-perfect mint-state coin graded MS-67 or MS-68 by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, as collectors pay a premium for flawless coins. However, such examples are extremely rare. Most 1970 quarters, even in extra-fine condition, hold modest value but remain collectible for their historical and aesthetic qualities. Your coin's scratches reduce its potential value slightly, as collectors typically prefer coins with smooth, original surfaces. Depending on the depth and visibility of those marks, the value might decrease by about 20 to 30% from what a cleaner example would bring. Even with that adjustment, your coin would likely still sell for about $1 to $2 in a fair auction or private sale, possibly up to $3 if the details are sharp and the scratches are. Minor collectors often enjoy the 1970 quarter because it represents a key transition point between the older silver-era quarters and the modern designs that followed decades later. It's also part of the final years before the major design changes that came with the state quarter program in 1999. For hobbyists building complete Washington Quarter collections, the 1970 Philadelphia issue is an essential date to include. And finding one in extra fine condition adds a bit of satisfaction since most examples were heavily circulated. If you were to list your coin for sale, describing it as a 1970 Washington Quarter, large date, no mint mark, extra fine condition with light scratches, would accurately present its qualities. Clear, well-lit photos of both sides will help buyers see the coin's details and make fair offers. While it's not a high-value piece, it remains a genuine vintage collectible that appeals to casual numismatists and set builders. Next up, the 1945 USA Roosevelt dime without a mint mark is a very interesting and meaningful coin in American numismatic history. Not just because of its silver content, but also because of the story behind its creation. This coin marks the first year the United States Mint issued the Roosevelt dime. Introduced shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in April 1945, the dime was chosen to honor him due to his long association with the March of Dimes, an organization that helped fund the fight against polio, a disease Roosevelt himself had battled for much of his life. Your coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use mint marks on its coins at that time. This means that any 1945 dime without a mint mark was produced in Philadelphia. Coins from the Denver and San Francisco mints bear D and S marks, respectively, located to the left of the torch on the reverse. Your coin is described as being in good condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading, good condition, abbreviated as D, means that the coin has been heavily circulated and shows significant wear, though the main design features are still identifiable. On the obverse, most of Roosevelt's hair detail is worn smooth, and his facial features may appear flat, but his profile remains visible, and all lettering and the date are readable. On the reverse, the torch and branches show heavy wear, with much of the finer detail missing, but the main outlines of the design can still be seen. The scratches you mention are typical for a coin that has been in circulation for many years. As long as they are not severe or deep, they don't greatly reduce the coin's value beyond what's expected for its condition. The 1945 Roosevelt dime is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 2.5 grams, giving it an actual silver weight of 0.07234 troy ounces. This means that even worn examples like yours have a base value tied to the price of silver. At today's silver market prices, typically around $25 to $30 per ounce, the melt value of your coin is approximately $180 to $220. This silver content ensures that every 1945 dime, regardless of condition, retains intrinsic value. From a collector's standpoint, the 1945 Philadelphia issue is not a rare coin, as over 159 million were minted. This makes it relatively easy to find, especially in circulated grades like yours. However, it remains a popular coin because it represents the very first year of the Roosevelt dime series, which continues to this day. Collectors often seek a 1945 example to mark the beginning of the series in their collections. In good condition with some scratches, your coin's market value in today's market is usually around $2 to $3, depending on the current silver price and overall eye appeal. If the coin had been in higher grades such as very fine VF or extra fine XF, it might be worth $40 to $6. Uncirculated, mint state examples are valued higher, typically ranging from $8 to $20, and exceptionally high-grade certified coins can sell for much more, up to $100 or more if they exhibit brilliant luster and perfect surfaces. An interesting fact about 1945 Roosevelt dimes is that they mark the final year before the Mint's temporary removal of mint marks in 1965. It also coincides with the end of World War II, which gives these coins historical importance beyond their numismatic value. Each 1945 dime serves as a small but meaningful reminder of a period of great change, recovery, and national pride in the United States. Next up, the 1980 P. Washington $quarter coin is a classic example of modern American coinage, widely recognized for its simple yet enduring design. While many people casually refer to coins from this period as silver quarters because of their bright metallic color, the 1980 quarter is not made of silver. The United States Mint had already eliminated silver from circulating quarters after 1964, replacing it with a copper-nickel-clad composition. Therefore, the 1980 P. Washington quarter is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a silvery appearance but no real silver content. Despite that, this coin remains a collectible piece of U.S. history and a nostalgic reminder of pocket change from the late 20th century. Your coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches. Over time, coins that circulate heavily naturally pick up dirt, discoloration, and small surface marks from daily use. The term dirty condition generally refers to accumulated grime or toning that dulls the coin's shine. While such wear doesn't usually affect the coin's structural integrity, it does lower its visual appeal. The scratches, depending on their depth, can also reduce collectible value slightly. However, for a common-date modern quarter like the 1980 P, light dirt and scratches are completely normal, as most of these coins have been used in circulation for decades. In terms of condition, your coin seems to fall into the fine to very fine category based on the description. That means some wear is visible on Washington's hair, cheek, and the eagle's feathers, but most major design details remain intact. The date and lettering should be clearly readable. The coin's surface may look dull or darkened due to grime, but this can often be gently cleaned by professional conservators if desired, though amateur cleaning is not recommended, as it can further damage the surface and reduce value. Because the 1980 P quarter was produced in large numbers, it is not considered rare. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 635 million quarters that year, meaning that examples like yours are still common in circulation today. As such, the coin's value primarily depends on its condition and whether it holds any collectible or sentimental appeal. In its current dirty condition with scratches, the coin's value would generally be around its face value of 25 cents, possibly up to $1 if a collector appreciates it as part of a date and mint mark set. Clean, bright examples in uncirculated condition can sometimes bring $2 to $5 or slightly more, but heavily worn or dirty coins typically remain close to face value. In the auction market, only the finest high-grade examples of the 1980 P quarter, especially those graded Mint State 67 or higher by professional grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, command premium prices. Such coins can sell for anywhere from $50 to over $200, but these are rare and nearly flawless pieces. Average circulated coins like yours, even in fine or very fine condition, hold modest value, but are still meaningful for collectors who enjoy completing modern Washington quarter sets. Your coin's appearance in dirty condition actually adds a sense of history and character, showing that it has been part of everyday use for over 4 decades. For collectors who enjoy the story behind circulated coins, this makes it an appealing historical artifact, even if its monetary worth is low. If you were to sell or list this coin online, a fair market value would likely range between $0.5 by $2 and $1, depending on its overall look and presentation. Providing clear photographs of both sides, showing the date, mint mark, and details, can help attract interest from hobbyists who appreciate vintage circulated coins. In summary, the 1980 P. Washington $quarter coin is not made of silver, but remains an important collectible as the first-year Philadelphia quarters carried a P mint mark. In dirty condition with scratches, Its value in today's auction or collector market is modest, ranging from 25 cents to about $1. Though not a rare or precious coin, it represents a small yet enduring piece of American coinage history and continues to be an accessible, nostalgic collectible for enthusiasts of the Washington Quarter series. Next up, the 1937 USA dime you're describing is a fascinating piece of American coinage history. But there's an important detail to note. In 1937, the Roosevelt dime did not yet exist. The Roosevelt dime series began in 1946, a year after President Franklin D. Roosevelt's death, when the design was introduced to honor his leadership and his connection to the March of Dimes Foundation. In 1937, the U.S. dime in circulation was the winged Liberty Head dime, more commonly known as the Mercury dime, because the image of Liberty wearing a winged cap resembles the Roman god Mercury. So, the coin you have from 1937 without a mint mark is actually a 1937 Mercury dime, not a Roosevelt dime. It's an easy mix-up since both are 10-cent silver coins, but they belong to different eras and designs. The 1937 Mercury dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it does not carry a mint mark. The mint mark, if present, would appear on the reverse to the left of the E in 1. Coins from Denver have a D mint mark, and those from San Francisco carry an S. The Philadelphia issue, like yours, was produced in large numbers that year, over 56 million coins, making it one of the more common dates of the series. Your coin is described as being in fine condition with some scratches, which suggests it has seen moderate circulation. In this grade, most of the main design features are visible but show noticeable wear. On the obverse, the major lines in Liberty's hair and the details in the winged cap are worn smooth, but the facial features and lettering are still sharp. On the reverse, the fasces and olive branch retain their outlines, though the small details, such as the individual rods and leaves, are flattened. The scratches you mentioned are very typical for circulated silver coins of this age and generally do not severely affect the value unless they are deep or distracting. The 1937 Mercury dime is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 2.5 grams, giving it an actual silver weight of 0.07234 troy ounces. Its intrinsic silver value depends on the current silver market. With silver prices typically ranging between $25 and $30 per ounce, the melt value of your coin is approximately $1.80 to $2.20. This means that even the most worn examples of this coin have at least that much value based purely on their silver content. In terms of collector value, the 1937 Mercury dime from the Philadelphia Mint is not a rare coin, but it remains highly collectible due to its beautiful design and historical significance. In fine condition with some scratches, your coin would typically be worth around $2.50 to $4 in today's market. If the coin were in higher condition, say very fine, VF, or extra fine, XF, it might be valued at $5 to $8. Uncirculated examples, with full original mint luster and sharp details, can sell for $15 to $25, while certified high-grade examples, MS65 or higher, can reach $40 to $80 or more, especially if they have attractive natural toning. It's also worth noting that the Mercury dime series ran from 1916 to 1945, covering the era of World War I, the Great Depression, and World War II. Coins from this series have witnessed some of the most transformative decades in American history. The 1937 issue comes from a time when the U.S. was recovering from the Great Depression and beginning to industrialize for the upcoming war years. Holding such a coin is like holding a piece of that history, a small silver reminder of America's endurance and resilience through challenging times.